Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be looking at the CAPE Spanish exam breakdown. In other words, we are going to see how this exam is assessed. All right. So as you see, I would have chosen a very comical image as the title page. As you know, exams fill us with lots of anxiety. Now, if you look at the bottom under examinis finalis, we have a sentence, right? Los días que fingir enfermarse o pensar en suicidarse son buenas opciones. So the days that you pretend to get sick or you think about committing suicide, or you think that committing suicide are good options. Obviously, I hope you don't take that seriously, but yeah, because exams fill us with so much anxiety, we sometimes go to extreme lengths to avoid them. But please don't take that literally. So when it comes to CAPE is going to be CAPE Spanish is going to be a lot different from CSEC Spanish. A lot more is required of a student because it's advanced proficiency. So of course the exams are going to be more demanding, okay? So over the course of the 2 years that you do CAPE, you will study 2 units, all right? And each unit will be broken down into 3 modules. Modules, topics, whatever, right? Module 1, and this is unit 1, so this is your first year of CAPE. You have el individuo, la familia y la vida diaria. Module 2, la sociedad y los asuntos sociales. And module 3, el medio ambiente. Now, all of the material that you study within the course will be based on these topics. Of course, the questions as well. Right? So these are the 3 topics or 3 areas that you will focus on during your first year of CAPE. Now, themes and related texts. Later in the presentation, we are going to look at the different components of the exam. But before we get to that, we need to look at the topics, right? So themes and related texts. And like I told you previously, everything that you study is going to be based on the topics that appear within the course, right? So under the theme of La Juventud, you're going to have 2 options, and you're going to have 2 stories based on the theme. But depending on the school that you attend, you're going to do one of them, okay? Felices Días Tío Sergio. I would have done that when I attended Queen's College, right? When I was doing CAPE, I studied that text. La Casa en Mango Street. I don't know what that is. Obviously, students at other schools would have studied that. So it depends on the school that you attended, okay? El individuo y la sociedad, como agua para chocolate. I studied that. I have no idea what bodas de sangre is, right? But students at other schools would have studied that. And it's also worth noting that the picture that you see on the right-hand side is actually based on como agua para chocolate. So yes, for each theme, 2 texts are, well, I wouldn't say 2 texts are studied, but there are 2 texts based on that particular theme. You will study one, okay? Now we move to our second year of CAPE, Unit 2. Module 1, we have las actualidades. Module 2, we have la ciencia y la tecnología. And Module 3, we have la industria y los asuntos económicos. Sounds a lot more intense, right? Second year. When it comes to the themes and related texts, we have El Mundo Moderno, Cuentos de Eva Luna. I studied that. I studied Cuentos de Eva Luna. Dos palabras, La mujer del juez, Un camino hacia el norte, El palacio imaginado, De barro estamos hechos. Now, I can still remember a little bit about each story, but I still would have to reread them to familiarize myself with everything that took place. But that was in the text that I studied at school, okay? Fatima de los Naufragios, no idea what that is. But that was the second text under the theme of El Mundo Moderno, okay? Now, el compromiso político y social. El reino de este mundo. No idea. And el coronel no tiene quien le escriba. This was the one that I would have studied. And just like como agua para chocolate, the image on the right is a depiction of el coronel. Now we get into the actual exam. So how is this exam assessed? What are the components of this exam? So this exam is broken down into 4 components, okay? So the first component or the first paper is the listening comprehension. It consists of 72 marks and it will last 1 hour. So candidates are required to answer 6 compulsory short answer questions. These questions will cover all 3 modules and are arranged in 2 sections, okay? So in section A, there are 5 short selections in Spanish based on modules 1 and 3. So whatever you would have studied in modules 1 and 3 will appear in section A, otherwise known as the first section, right? The short answer selections. However, section B is going to be based on, no, sorry. Let's find out what will be in section B first. So in section B, there's an extended interview, conversation, commentary, or discussion based on module 2. So in section 2, you have an interview, a conversation, etc. So the format is a bit different. And it will be based on module 2, whatever you would have studied in module 2 in that particular year, okay? Now, the selections and conversation are in Spanish, but the responses have to be provided in English. So what you hear will be Spanish. You will hear Spanish, but the questions will be in English. So you have to provide responses in English. In other words, you have to interpret what you hear. And a good piece of advice is that you don't have to always interpret everything word for word. As long as you have the general idea, you will be awarded your marks. So don't worry about that. Now the paper 2, reading and writing. So it consists of 72 marks and it will last 2 hours and 10 minutes. It consists of 3 sections. So the first 2 sections consist of reading comprehension passages. The first requires responses in Spanish, while the latter requires responses in English. And they are 24 marks each. They are worth 24 marks each, right? So the first passage will require responses in Spanish. This means that the passage will be in Spanish and the questions will be in Spanish. On the other hand, the second passage is going to be in Spanish, but the questions based on the passage will be in English. So you have to respond in English, okay? And the final section consists of an argumentative essay in Spanish with a word limit of 300 to 350 words. And there will be 5 options. So of course you choose one, right? So yes. And the argumentative essays will be based on the topics that you would have studied during the course, right? Paper 3, literary analysis and themes. 48 marks, 2 hours long. Consists of 2 sections. The first section consists of a comprehension passage on each of the stories studied during the year. Candidates will select one of the passages that they have studied, right? So, and each question is worth 4 marks. So you have 4 questions. This means you need to provide detailed responses. You cannot be given 1 or 2 line responses. Be as thorough as possible, okay? And generally speaking, the marks for a particular question are usually an indication of the amount of material that should be provided. That's just a general tip for exams in general. Look at the mark, and the mark is going to give you an indication of how much information you should provide. So if you have a question that's 4 marks, then you really should give a lot of information. You can never give too much. That's just me, all right? Now, the second section consists of an essay with a word limit of 450 to 500 words based on one of the text studied. Candidates must use quotations from the story in Spanish as an aid. I know you're wondering, if we have to use quotations from the story, then that means that we can carry the story in the exam. Yes, that's right. But you must be careful, because if your story contains too many notes, you will not be allowed to carry it. So during the course, when you are studying the text with your teacher, please do not make too many notes, all right? So yes, you have to use quotations from the story to validate or substantiate your points, right? Additionally, you cannot answer 2 questions on the same story, and you're allowed to bring a Spanish dictionary and of course one of the texts. So you can carry a dictionary, but that will obviously be used for section 1, which would be the literary analysis. So you're given a passage from one of the texts, and you're asked 4 questions based on that passage, okay? Now, very important, you cannot answer 2 questions on the same story. No, you can't do that. So the question that you choose to do your literary analysis on has to be different to the one that you do your essay on, right? So you have to remember that. You're only allowed to carry 1 text. And of course, you're going to carry the text that you choose, that you intend to write your story on, right? Now, I would recommend that you familiarize yourself with both stories, but of course, the essay question is going to be worth more marks and would definitely require you to know the story well. Whereas the literary analysis is going to be based on an extract from the story, right? So it's going to be based on a part of the story. It's going to take that is going to be taken out of context. Therefore, you can knowledge of the story would be useful, but I don't think it is as crucial as for the essay, right? Yes. So that would be paper 3. Paper 4, the oral or the school-based assessment. So 48 marks, 15 minutes. And of course, those 15 minutes are just an estimation. So you have a prepared topic. Candidates will present a prepared topic which fits within one of the modules approved by the teacher. The topic chosen was focused on a Hispanic country. I can only remember I can only remember presenting on the topic of anorexia. I don't remember which country I focused on. Yeah, I don't remember. But yes, so you present on a topic and you center it, or it must be focused on a Hispanic country. Then you have a topic conversation. The teacher will engage the candidate in a conversation about the topic presented. So you must know your topic very well, okay? You must know your topic very well because your teacher will ask you questions based on your presentation. Anything that may not have been explained thoroughly or information that may have been omitted but it's still relevant to the discussion, your teacher can ask you those questions, okay? So you have to know your topic very well. And then the last part is just a general conversation. You'll be asked questions related to current events and they're general questions. They don't require the questions do not require that you are an expert, right? They don't require you to be an expert, but you should be able to provide an opinion on these issues, okay? So yes. So sample questions. ¿Qué opinas sobre la pena de muerte? What do you think about the death penalty? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? And of course, why? ¿Cuáles son los problemas que enfrentan los jóvenes hoy en día? What are the problems that young people face nowadays? As you know, there are many problems, right? But you can identify some of them and, elaborate on them, okay? So this is a breakdown of the marks. As you see, the listening comprehension is worth 30%, the reading and writing, 30%, the literary analysis and themes, 20%, and the oral or SBA, 20%. So this brings us to the end of this presentation. Yes, the exam is intense, I know, but I'm sure that you all will do well and you all will be fine. So I want to thank you for watching. Gracias por ver y hasta luego.